the birth of a new nation from Jacob to Israel. For the first time, we see Jacob making a call to worship. All this time, Jacob was the one who worshiping God. All this time he was alone praying. He was alone doing everything. From he ran away. That same night he ran away, he met God at a place called Bethel. Well, he called the place Bethel. And he began to name his experiences and label places and make altars. And so tonight, for the first time in Jacob's life, he's calling for corporate worship. And God said to Jacob, arise and go up to Bethel and dwell there and make there an altar unto God that appeared unto thee when thou fleddest from the face of Esau, thy brother. The same place that Esau met God the first night he ran away. He met his brother. Remember that his brother wanted him to come to where he lived, Esau in Mount Seir, and Jacob said no. He went away to Shechem. Now he's meeting God. What if he had followed Esau to Mount Seir? I really don't know that this would be happening right now, because it would be in another turnaround. And I'm saying to us as people of God, follow the voice of God. Jacob, this is 20 years after them calamity starting up. After 20 years, some of us believe that God is taking too long after 6 months or just few months. This is after 20 years. God is now saying to the brother who have been praying all along for himself, alone, meeting God for himself, alone for 20 odd years. Now he has made peace with his brother. And now he's bringing his family into corporate worship. And God said to him, go to the place called Bethel. Then Jacob said unto his household and to all that were with him, put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean, and change your garments. Jacob is now the priest for his family. He's now making laws for worship. I tell you, I love Jacob. I tell you, I love Jacob. God didn't tell him to do this, but in his heart, he knew if his family is going to meet God, they were traveling all along with him with their strange gods. And remember that he did not know initially that they had strange gods. For Rachel stole Laban's God and hid it. And Jacob did not know. But now we know that he now knows. And he's saying to them, put away your strange gods. Get yourselves clean. And we're going to meet my God. Put away your gods. Because we're going to meet my God. And when you're going to meet my God, you got to come clean. And you got to put on new garments. Change your garments. I love this. You know, the garment that you wore in serving your God, you can't wear that to this God, my God. So put it away. And let us arise and go to Bethel. Now, Bethel is the house of God. And I will make there an altar unto God, who answered me in the day of my distress and was with me in the way which I went. This is so honorable. This is the end of Jacob's journey. He fled. He had problems. He's now back. He's going to settle down, he's going to settle down here. He's going to land right here. When he fled, he worshiped God by himself. Now he's back. He's going to worship God with all that God gave him. I love Jacob. He says that this is the God who was with me when I was in distress. And everywhere I went, this is the same God who went with me. For God did promise him, I will take you back to this place. What an honor now to serve God. And they gave Jacob all the strange gods which were in their hand, and all the earrings which were in the ears, and Jacob hid them under the oak which was by Shechem. So Jacob put them aside because they're now going to meet God. And they journeyed, and the terror, this is beautiful, right? And the terror of God was upon whom? The cities that were round about them. And they did not pursue after the sons of Jacob. Can you imagine when you live righteously, the righteousness that God clothed you with goes ahead of you. And if they wanted to war him, they couldn't and they wouldn't. You remember, right, that when Jacob's children, now the Israelites that were in Egypt, want to leave Egypt, the people around them wanted to war them the same way. You know, it's like a circle of life. But in this case, the terror of God was upon the cities. God went ahead of Jacob. And those who would make war cannot make war because what? God went ahead of Jacob. I tell you people, God will be your God. He might not come in the first 2 or 3 years or years, but even 20 years after, Jacob is going to worship. And God is paving the way. And those who wanted to war him, God, terror, would put fear in them. So you don't need to fight your battles. God has gone long ways ahead of you. Gone long ways ahead of you. Jacob allowed his people to put aside the strange gods. So these are clean people going ahead in righteousness. And the terror of God is paving the way. And they're walking through. So Jacob came to this place called Luz, which is in the land of Canaan. That is Bethel. Remember that he's the one who changed the name from Luz to Bethel. But the people still call it Luz because they did not know that Jacob changed the name. So Jacob changed the name and it called Bethel. That's how Jacob knows. Of course, you know, it is after the facts that Moses is writing, so it's called Bethel officially. He and all the people that were with him. And he built there an altar and called the place El Bethel, because there God appeared unto him when he fled from the face of his brother. Now, El means God. So this really is God, house of God, which means it is God's house. This location called us. Now watch the conjunction. But Deborah, that is Rebecca's nurse, died. Rebecca, Deborah died. And she was buried beneath Bethel under an oak. And the name of it was called Alan Bakuth. Somehow the writer is tying in something and I don't figure it out yet. I really don't, because you see, Jacob buried everything that he got underneath the oak tree. And of course, this girl, she was buried beneath Bethel under an oak tree. I've not yet made the connection. I'm still trying to figure out why the author is making this connection. And it was given this name, Alan Bakut. But Jacob is now meeting God. And God is now meeting Jacob. And so these people that are Jacob's children are going to have a name change. And for the first time, they're going to become the people of God. Notice when they became the people of God, when they put aside their strange gods, when they got themselves clean up, and they changed the garment to meet the God of Jacob. This was when they became the people of God. And God appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Padan Aram and blessed him. You remember this is Rebekah's family place, right? The Syrian. And God said unto him, thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob. And Jacob really means heel catcher, because when he was born, after he was born, he held on to Esau's heel. And so he was called Jacob, which means heel catcher. No more Jacob, no more heel catcher, but Israel. And Israel means he will rule as God. This was when, remember when he met the angel and they had a fight and he did jam him in the side? That was when he got the name. And so this is when that became, he will rule as God. But Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. So Jacob has now been transformed into a people. All of this is adding up in the redemptive plan of God. Abraham came from Iraq, Babylon. God changed his name from Abram to Abraham, a new man, a new people. So even Sarai is changed to Sarah, and new people. So Isaac is not to be called a Babylonian per se, because God is building himself a people from which the Messiah would be born. Jacob is now changed to Israel. Now remember that there was nowhere upon planet Earth called Israel before Jacob was changed to it. While mankind gave the land the names, it is God who gave this land the name. It is God who gave these people the name. It is God who gave this man the name. So God will name his people, and the people of God will bear the name of God. Your name is no more Jacob. You're not a heel catcher anymore. You're going to rule as God's representative. He would be an ambassador. He would be an advocate. And it is through Israel, the King of Kings would be born. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee, this is in Deuteronomy, by the way. Right, we're just looking at Genesis 35. But I'm making a contrast here, a connection rather, with Deuteronomy 7. Remember that Jacob got his name changed in Genesis. They are not yet in Egypt. When we get over into chapter 37 and 38 and 39, you're going to find that Joseph is going to be in Egypt. Then they're going to be there for 400 years. Then they're going to come out. The first generation, they're going to die in the wilderness after 40 years. And then the second generation is who Moses is talking to in Deuteronomy. So we just went up the head. We'll soon come back down to Brother Jacob. So Moses is now saying to the second generation that left Egypt, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and has cast out many nations before thee, thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter shalt thou not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away your son from following me, that they may serve other gods. so will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy you suddenly. But thus shall he deal with them. You shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. If we're going to serve God, we must be different. We cannot be the same. When Jacob is going to meet God in corporate worship for the first time, he showed us that there got to be a change. You have to put aside the strange gods. You got to be clean in your hearts. In his case, it was clothing, but in your hearts. And when the Israelites were going to be brought into the promised land, God is saying to them, you cannot go over there like that. When you go over there, you cannot be like them. Why? For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. And this is not saying that God is biased or is showing favoritism. These are the people supposed to lead the world to God. Jacob was changed to Israel, which means that he's going to rule instead of God. He's going to rule in God's position. He's going to be an advocate for God on earth. And this is what Moses said to the children of Israel, that you are special because God would have chosen you to lead mankind to me by behaving well. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor chose you because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people. Notice, they are holy people. Look at us today. Christians are not the people of God. Here's what the Lord says. But you are a chosen generation. Isn't it the same thing he said to the people of Israel? For you are a holy people unto the Lord your God. He said it to us. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show for the praises of him who had called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Look how long Jacob stayed in darkness. 20 odd years. But while he was in darkness, he was still seeing the light of God leading him back to the land. And we today can boast that we were in darkness, now we are children of light, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of God, which had not obtained mercy, but now have what? Obtained mercy. Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts which war against the soul, having your conversation, your conduct honest amongst the Gentiles, that whereas they speak against you as evildoers, they may by your good works, which they shall behold, glorify God in the day of visitation. This is the same commission given to the Israelites. When you go into the land, behave yourself as people of God. Jacob started off by saying, put away the strange gods, fix up yourself because we're going into a land to represent God. When Moses spoke to the second generation, he said it to them too, you cannot do the things they do because they're going to lead you away from God. When Christ came, he said to us, we, through Peter, we are the holy nation. And then we must live a life amongst people in darkness that they may see God's good work in us. We're coming back to this, but let's go back to Jacob, who is now Israel. Back in chapter 35 of Genesis. And God said to him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings come out of thy loins. This is exactly what God said to Abraham. You would have read it in, those who did the quiz tonight, you'd have seen it in chapter 17, where God would have said to Abraham, kings will come out of your loins. Abraham is dead, gone. Now Jacob is carrying on the baton. Next week, Joseph is going to pick it up. He's going to keep throwing it until Christ come and catch it and throw it to us. The redemptive plan of God. And the land which I gave to Abraham and Isaac, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land. And God went up from him in the place where he talked with him. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he talked with him, even a pillar of stone, and he poured a drink offering thereon, and he poured oil thereon. And Jacob called the name of the place where God spake with him, Bethel. The same thing he did when he had just first gone there. Call the place Bethel. When he came back, he called it El Bethel. It is still Bethel. Regardless of what the people call the land, Jacob said this land belonged to God. It is the house of God. You know the truth, and regardless of what people say, the truth belongs to God. You belong to God. Or whatever people call you and label you as, you're still the house of God. For the Bible said that we are the temple of the living God. The people call it Luz, but they don't know the name Bethel yet. It's the generation after them going to know that this is what Jacob called it. This is where he met God. We're getting a little preview about Rachel. And they journeyed, like I said, we're landing right here. This is just the end of the thing with Jacob, closing down the world, going away and coming back. And they journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephrath. And Rachel is going to have another child. So she travailed and she had a hard labor. And it came to pass when she was in hard labor that the midwife said unto her, fear not, you're still going to have this boy. You're going to have this boy. And it came to pass as she was dying that Rachel, with her dying breath, called this boy Benoni. But Jacob says, he shall be called Benjamin. You'll remember that these are the left-handed warriors, fighters, from which Paul said he came from them too, the Benjamites. So remember the name Benoni or Benoni? That's Rachel's name for the boy with her dying breath. But Jacob says, he shall be Benjamin. Not too far from Benoni. And Rachel died and was buried in the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. Jacob's wife died. We landed. And Jacob set up a pillar upon her grave. That is the pillar of Rachel's grave unto this day. I mean, until when Moses was writing all of this. So Rachel, the love of Jacob's heart, is dead. Then the author decided to give us a little look on a guy by the name of Reuben, and then the rest of the children. Just a little glance. And Israel journeyed. You notice, right? We don't say Jacob anymore. Of course, going to have it mixing back and forth, Jacob and Israel. So now we learn. And Israel journeyed and spread his tent beyond the tower of Edar. And this boy, Reuben, is a bad boy. And it came to pass, when Israel dwelt in that land, Edar, that Reuben went and slept with Bilhah. Y'all know Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard about it. And he said one thing. The author just said that he heard about it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12 boys. Right, and then we got a roll call of the children. We have done this before, right? We got the sons of Leah, we got the sons of Rachel, we got the sons of Bilhah, we got the sons of Zilpah. The 2 wives and the 2 handmaids. Right? So the author wants to give us a little thing here because you see, he's talking about Jacob is now in the land, he's worshiping God. Rachel is dead. These are the children. So he's now putting a cap on Jacob's hard life of over 20 years. He's now landing, putting the man in the land, and he's going to leave him there for a little while. And Jacob came unto his father Isaac. Finally, they meet. Jacob came unto Isaac, his father, unto Mamre, unto the city of Arba, which is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac sojourned. And the days of Isaac were 104 years. And Isaac the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people, being old and full of days. And his two sons, now at peace, Esau and Jacob, buried their father in peace. You can't find a better end for a story. Somebody should write a movie on this. All that Jacob went through, went off for 20 odd years, fearful of his brother. Now he's coming back. God is paving the way while he goes off to worship God. In the land that God said, I'll bring you back here and you will see your father. And he would have seen his father. And God said, I'll bring you back in peace. He came back in peace with his brother. God is a good God, no matter how long it takes. And even if we die before, he's still a good God. Still a good God. And so Jacob finally was at peace with his brother. And he was now at peace with his father, the one he lied to. He lied because of his mother, but he is culpable. He lied to him. You know, I don't know if he apologized to him or anything, but I think at this point it's fair enough and reasonable enough to say that he must have, and I'm not saying he did, I'm just feeling in my heart, you know, that he must have made some peace with his father. We have landed. We took off with Jacob as he took off, running away from his family. He traveled all the way, met with many turbulence, many lightning and storms hit him left, right, center. Now we have clear skies, and God parted the way with terror as Jacob for the first time brings in corporate worship with his family.